The world often moves forward as if the ground beneath our feet will never change, as if every structure we have built is unshakable. Yet history teaches us a different story. Nations that once looked indestructible crumbled in a single season. Powers that ruled for centuries vanished overnight. And in the same way, lives can be overturned in a moment. There is a shaking that comes to remind humanity that nothing we hold on to in this world is eternal. This is why it has been spoken that an earthquake is coming, not only in the natural but in the spiritual and in the cultural fabric of our times. When we hear of earthquakes, our first thought is of the ground moving, buildings trembling, people rushing out in fear. But a prophetic earthquake is far more than a shift in the earth's crust. It is a shaking of foundations. It is when everything we thought was certain begins to collapse, and the only thing that remains is what cannot be shaken. The question is not whether the shaking will come, the question is whether we will be ready for it when it does. Think of the days of Noah. People lived as though the flood would never arrive. They built, they celebrated, they carried on with daily life, unaware of the hour that was approaching. But Noah prepared. He listened to the warning, and he built the ark. And when the waters came, it was not strength or wealth that saved anyone, but whether or not they had prepared. So it is now. A season approaches where the shaking will test every foundation. August 26 may seem like just another date on the calendar, but it is a reminder that each day we are closer to the appointed time when all that is not rooted in truth will fall. We must ask ourselves, where have we built our lives? Have we placed our trust in our careers, in our possessions, in the applause of others, in the temporary comforts of this passing world? If so, then we have built on sand, and when the storm comes, the house on sand cannot stand. But if we have built upon the rock, if we have anchored ourselves in what is eternal, then no shaking can remove us. A prophetic earthquake is not sent to destroy those who are rooted in truth, but to reveal what cannot last and to call us higher. There is an urgency now that cannot be ignored. The world is changing at a pace never seen before. Technologies that seemed unimaginable only a decade ago now shape our very identities. Voices cry out from every direction, demanding allegiance, demanding compromise, demanding silence in the face of things that once would have been unthinkable. And in the midst of this storm of voices, the ancient call still echoes. Choose this day whom you will serve. The shaking will expose what is real and what is false, what is eternal and what is temporary, what is holy and what is profane. Consider how a farmer separates wheat from chaff. The shaking of the harvest allows the heavy grain to fall and remain while the chaff is blown away. So too will this earthquake act as a winnowing, dividing what has weight from what is empty. Many will discover that the things they thought would sustain them have no substance. But those who have planted their lives in the soil of eternity will not be moved. Some hear these words and feel fear. Yet fear is not the purpose of this message. Warnings are not given to paralyze but to prepare. A lighthouse does not exist to frighten sailors, but to guide them away from destruction. The announcement of shaking is not to crush you, but to strengthen you, to awaken you from sleep, and to call you into the place where your life will endure no matter the storm. There will be those who mock. There always are. They will say, "Where is this shaking you speak of?" Life goes on as always. But remember that the greatest collapses in history often happened at the very height of pride. Rome fell not when it was weak, but when it believed itself eternal. Empires crumble when they say, "Nothing can move us." That is when the unseen tremors are already rumbling beneath their feet. So what should we do? We prepare. Preparation is not about storing treasures on earth. It is about aligning our hearts with what matters most. Forgive those who have wronged you, for bitterness will not endure the shaking. Let go of hidden sins, for they will be exposed when the ground splits open. Reconcile with loved ones, for broken relationships cannot be hidden under the rubble. Draw near to the one who has always been the rock of ages, because when everything else crumbles, his word will stand. Imagine a tree in the midst of a violent storm. The wind tears at its branches, rain lashes against its bark, but it does not fall. Why? Because its roots run deep. This is what we are called to become, not shallow plants swept away by the first gust, but rooted trees whose source of strength is unseen yet unshakable. When the earthquake comes, those who are deeply rooted will not only stand, they will provide shelter to those who are afraid. They will offer fruit to those who are starving. They will be a testimony that there is something greater than the storm. The shaking is not the end. It is the beginning of a greater revelation. After the earthquake, the landscape is never the same. Mountains shift, valleys rise, rivers carve new paths. In the same way, after the shaking of our world, something new will emerge. But only those who endured will see it. Only those who stood on the rock will enter into it. That is why we prepare, not with fear, but with faith, not with panic, but with purpose. On August 26, whether or not the ground beneath your city moves, the message remains: time is short, life is fragile, eternity is real. Every day brings us closer to the moment when the temporary gives way to the eternal. And when that moment comes, it will not matter what wealth we had, what applause we gained, or what power we held. It will matter only whether our lives were aligned with what cannot be shaken. So rise. Build your house on the rock. Plant your roots deep. Set your heart on what is eternal. For when the earthquake comes, those who are prepared will not fall. They will shine as a light in the darkness. And in that hour, while the world trembles, you will stand unshaken. When a shaking comes, it does not ask permission. It does not wait for the approval of kings or the comfort of nations. It arrives suddenly, without warning, overturning the plans of humanity and revealing where the true strength lies. And this is where we find ourselves now, standing on the threshold of a season unlike any before. A prophetic earthquake is not just about the movement of the ground beneath our feet, but the movement of heaven upon earth. It comes to awaken, to break open, and to call forth what has long been hidden. Every generation faces its trial, its shaking. For some it was exile, for others it was war, for still others it was famine or plague. But no matter the form it takes, the purpose remains the same, to call us back to the eternal foundation. In this hour, we are being called to examine where we have placed our trust. The earthquake is not only coming to the world, it is coming to the heart. It will test the strength of our faith, the purity of our motives, and the depth of our devotion. Consider the mountain. To the eye, it seems immovable, solid, eternal. Yet when the earth trembles, even the mountain shakes. What does this mean? It means that no power of man, no kingdom of this age, no empire of wealth or technology is truly unshakable. Only the one who created the mountains remains unmoved. This is why we are urged not to cling to the temporary, but to anchor our lives in the eternal. We live in a time when people chase shadows. The image of success, the illusion of control, the false sense of security in possessions and status. These are shadows that vanish when the shaking begins. Imagine holding on to smoke. The tighter you grip it, the more it slips through your fingers. That is the nature of everything that is not rooted in truth. The shaking is mercy because it reveals the emptiness before it is too late. Think of the prophet Elijah on Mount Carmel. The people were divided, uncertain, wavering between two opinions. They cried out to false gods, but no fire came. Then Elijah prayed, and the fire of heaven fell, consuming the sacrifice, the stones, even the water in the trench. That was a shaking moment. It revealed the powerless from the powerful, the false from the true. A prophetic earthquake does the same. It brings fire to expose what is empty and confirm what is real. Do not mistake comfort for security. Many live as though stability in their bank account or routine in their lives means their foundation is firm. But when the ground shifts, money cannot buy peace, and routine cannot guarantee safety. The only anchor that holds is the one fastened beyond the storms of this world. That anchor is the eternal word, the unchanging truth, the rock that cannot be moved. In ancient times, before great battles, armies would shake the ground with the march of thousands of soldiers, striking fear in the hearts of their enemies. The sound was a warning that power was coming. So too does the prophetic shaking announce that something greater is at hand. It is not the end. It is the beginning of a realignment, a setting of the stage for what is to come. The old must crumble so the new can arise. Some ask, why must there be shaking at all? Why not peace without disruption? But without shaking, there is no awakening. Without the breaking, there is no revealing. Without the storm, the roots of the tree are never tested, and the fruit is never proven. Shaking refines. Shaking purifies. Shaking separates. And in that separation, we discover what is eternal. Imagine a lamp burning in a house filled with clutter. At first, the clutter is tolerable, hidden in corners, ignored in shadows. But when the earthquake comes, the clutter is scattered across the floor, exposed in the light of the lamp. In the same way, the shaking will reveal what has been hidden in our hearts. The secret pride, the quiet bitterness, the compromise we excused, all will be uncovered, not to destroy us, but to set us free. For we cannot carry clutter into eternity, it must be shaken away. We must not only prepare individually, but also as a people. Families must anchor themselves in love that endures storms. Communities must choose truth over convenience. Nations must humble themselves before the eternal or risk collapse under their pride. History is filled with examples, kingdoms that rose in power yet fell in arrogance. Their monuments crumble, their names fade, but the testimony remains. The shaking always comes, and yet there is hope. For those who prepare, the earthquake is not a curse but a doorway. It clears away what is false so that truth can stand. It removes weak foundations so that strong ones can be built. It is a call to renewal, to return, to restoration. The shaking that terrifies some will strengthen others. The same earthquake that topples one house will refine another into something unbreakable. Think again of Noah. The flood destroyed, but it also cleansed. It washed away corruption and gave birth to a new beginning. The ark did not prevent the storm, it carried Noah through it. Likewise, those who anchor themselves in the eternal will not be spared from the shaking, but they will be sustained through it. And when it is over, they will stand on a new foundation, ready for the new season that follows. The message is clear: time is short. We do not know the exact day or hour when the greatest shaking will arrive, but we know it is coming. The signs are already around us. The instability of nations, the confusion of cultures, the division among people. These are tremors, warning signals, calling us to prepare. What does preparation look like? It is not about stockpiling what moth and rust destroy. It is about living with eternity in view. Speak truth even when the world demands silence. Live with integrity even when compromise seems easier. Choose faith when fear surrounds you. And above all, stay close to the one who holds the universe in his hands, for he is the rock that will never be moved. When the day arrives and the shaking comes, those who have prepared will not be consumed by panic. They will stand, not because they are strong, but because their foundation is stronger than the storm. And in that hour, the world will see the difference between those who trusted in shadows and those who trusted in the eternal. So do not wait. Do not postpone. Every day is a gift, every moment an opportunity to strengthen your foundation. Plant your roots deep, lift your eyes high, and prepare your heart for what is to come. For when the earthquake arrives, you will not fall, you will rise. The moments before a great shaking are often the quietest. The sky looks calm, the ground feels steady. Life continues as though nothing could ever change. But beneath the surface, unseen forces are moving. The plates of the earth are shifting, the pressure is building, and in one sudden instant, everything is altered. That is how prophetic earthquakes come. They arrive not with endless warning, but with sudden impact. And in that moment, every foundation is tested. This is where we stand now. A time has been appointed, a season when the temporary will give way to the eternal. The question that must echo in our hearts is not, will the shaking come? But will I be ready when it does? History is filled with examples of those who ignored the signs and found themselves swept away. Yet it also shines with testimonies of those who prepared, who listened, who stood firm when the storm raged. The shaking is not sent to destroy, but to reveal. It reveals what cannot stand and what will endure. Think of the parable told long ago of the two builders. One built his house on sand, the other on rock. Both houses stood tall in the sunlight. Both looked secure to the eye. But when the storm came, the difference was revealed. The house on sand fell with a great crash, while the house on rock stood unshaken. The prophetic earthquake is the storm that shows us where we have built. We live in an age of illusions. Screens tell us who we are, voices compete for our loyalty, and the world offers 1,000 counterfeit foundations. Yet when the ground trembles, illusions shatter. The shaking exposes what is hollow. This is not cruelty, it is mercy. For better to discover the emptiness now than to trust it into eternity. Consider the potter's vessel. A flawed pot looks perfect on the shelf, but place it in the fire, and the cracks appear. The shaking is the fire. It reveals the hidden fractures, not to shame us, but to give us the chance to be remade, to be restored, to become vessels of honor that can withstand the pressure. Without the fire, the flaw remains hidden. Without the earthquake, the weakness remains untested. The shaking is a gift because it brings truth into the light. Some will ask, if this is true, why do so many live untouched, as though nothing ever changes? But do not be deceived by the calm. Before the flood, the world ate and drank, married and celebrated, unaware of what was about to happen. Before Babylon fell, its people feasted, confident in their walls, unaware the enemy was already within their gates. Before empires crumbled, they sang songs of their greatness. The calm before the shaking is not security, it is mercy. It is the time given to prepare, and preparation is not found in fear, but in faith. Fear runs to temporary shelters that collapse. Faith builds on the eternal. Fear grasps at possessions, titles, and strength that cannot last. Faith clings to the rock that has never been moved. Fear leads to panic when the shaking begins. Faith leads to peace because it knows the outcome before the storm even arrives. The prophetic earthquake is not only global, it is personal. Every life will be tested. Every heart will be shaken. What is hidden will be revealed, and what is true will endure. In relationships, in careers, in secret thoughts, in public words. The shaking will touch it all. But this is the moment to let go of what cannot last, to surrender what has weighed us down, to embrace what is eternal. For in the end, only one thing will matter: what foundation we chose. Picture a tree rooted beside a river. Seasons change, storms come, winds howl, yet the tree stands firm. Why? Not because it escapes the storm, but because its roots run deep into the source of life. This is the calling for us. To drive our roots deep into the eternal, so that when the shaking comes, we do not merely survive. We thrive. We become signs to others that stability still exists, that hope is real, that peace can be found even in the trembling. And understand this: after the shaking, the world will not look the same. Valleys will be raised, mountains brought low, rivers redirected, landscapes transformed. In the same way, after the prophetic earthquake, our lives and our world will never look the same. What was hidden will be revealed. What was broken will be rebuilt. What was temporary will be gone, and what is eternal will remain. The shaking does not end the story, it begins a new chapter. The call then is urgent. Not for tomorrow, not for one day, but for now. Time is a gift, but it is not infinite. Every day is one step closer to the appointed hour. Every moment is a chance to anchor deeper, to plant roots stronger, to live with purpose. Do not wait until the ground begins to move to decide where you stand. Decide now. Build now. Anchor now. Some may laugh at such words. They always have. Noah was mocked as he built the ark. Jeremiah was dismissed as he wept for the coming destruction. Elijah was ridiculed until fire fell from heaven. The voices of warning are never popular in times of comfort. But truth is not measured by applause. It is measured by endurance. And when the shaking comes, the truth will be undeniable. So lift your eyes higher. Do not be consumed by the noise of the world, the distractions of culture, the promises of temporary pleasures. Fix your gaze on the eternal, on the rock that has stood since before the foundations of the earth. Align your steps with what will matter forever. For when the shaking begins, only one thing will matter: did we stand on what could not be moved? And know this, for those who prepare, the shaking will not be an end, but a beginning. It will strip away fear, it will break chains, it will reveal glory. You will stand when others fall, shine when others fade, endure when others crumble. And through you, others will see that there is a hope greater than the storm, a peace stronger than the earthquake, a foundation deeper than the shifting ground. The earthquake is coming. The date is set. The tremors are already here. But you need not fear, for if your life is built on the rock, then even when the world shakes, you will remain unshaken. And in that moment, when everything else falls, you will rise.